Listeners joining us, let's touch on that again real quick. What, from a child's perspective, what does love look like?
For a child, time equals love, quality time. And I recommend, we didn't touch on this last time, so I'm glad you brought it up, Jim, individual time with each child, also very important. I did a lot of group things. We had 4 kids, so there was a grouping often. But to identify each child and what they want to do, once every 2 to 3 weeks, a couple of hours with each child, mom doing it and dad doing it, is a gold mine.
Why is that so important? I think that's an area I may have not kept my eye on, because having 2 boys, we did a lot together, and it was always boy stuff. You know, we'd go play basketball together, do things together. And I do regret not separating that sometimes. I mean, I did some of it, but probably not enough of it.
Yeah. It's tough to think of because time is so tight. And this is an extra, going the extra mile. It's not every week, maybe. But that for the child that we're doing just this, it's just about me. This is all about me. And it gives the opportunity when you're doing an activity with a girl or a boy for some nice things to come out. That will not come out if brother or sister are there.
Right. And it's true. Usually the one personality, if it's a bit stronger, the other personality or the other person will be kind of quiet. Right?
Right. When it's just that child, boy, some things are going to come out.
Yeah, it's blossom. One thing I think I did do is Saturday breakfast, we'd maybe go out and get early breakfast at a restaurant or something like that. That was always fun. Dave, you also mentioned that the counterpart to love is respect. It's interesting, you know, I think as parents we tend to play down the respect for children. We want them to respect us.
That's right.
Of course. But respecting a child, what does that look like? Especially for us dads, that, you know, we want that respect, but we may not know how to show respect to our kids.
It's allowing your child to put some reasonable limits on you.
What does that look like?
Well, in terms of privacy, even when our little girls, of course they were girls, even the girls and William, their room is their room. Now, I own the home, I'm coming in, but I would always knock on the door first out of respect for them. The girls might be dressing or doing something, and girls always make you wait no matter what. They could be actually doing nothing, but they always make you wait. I'll be in a moment, Daddy. Why? I know you're probably right. Whatever. It's a woman thing. So I would respect that, and I would not search their room or try to tidy it up. That's their room. That's kind of their fiefdom. That's a respect. Sandy had a problem with that. I have no problem with the room being a mess. Who cares? That's a minor issue of rebellion. We had 2 kids that were just slobs, absolute slobs. I won't give their names. But we let their rooms were just like a hurricane. I would come in and go, where was the bomb? Are you okay? What do you mean? A bomb went off in this room. Oh, Daddy, I can't believe. But I allowed that to happen because it's not that important.
Right. But how did you coach Sandy in accepting
I had to say, honey, look, this is a healthy form of rebellion. All kids have to rebel, or they're not going to break away and become independent. And it's a way of respecting them as well. So it's a minor thing. They're sticking it to the man with a messy room. You're the man. And it's like safe. Who cares? It's very easy for them to be taught, as they get to be teenagers, how to clean a room.
Yeah.
You can create a monkey to do that. It's not a big deal.
No, I don't agree with
One
that.
of our daughters, who was the slob,
Because if you let them grow up doing that, that's what they're going to do. And it's going to be a battle to get them to do it. So the sooner you teach them to clean up, the better. Because then they maintain it, and it's easier to maintain. It's easier to maintain something than to be total cleaning. So he's off track on that part.
Personal hygiene. William was the same way. He started dating quotes in middle school, and he started to clean up. Oh, yeah. And even the room was a little better if the girl was coming over.
That is so true. Hey, let me ask you, you mentioned something I'm sure some caught and may have even flinched when it comes to a teenager needing to rebel or a child needing to rebel, for them to find out who they are and discuss. Unpack that a little bit, because the prodigal story is probably a good example of that, but describe why that's important again for disconnection, because most parents, we would want our child to just
see, here we go again, because the prodigal son story is a misnomer. Okay, apparently that father didn't train that boy right, because had he have done it, as soon as he got out there in the world with that stuff going on, he would have took and came and to his senses quickly and went back home. But he waited till he had nothing. You know what I'm saying? He would have seen that them people were spending up his money, because his father would have trained him that stuff. to let them know that, hey, people will take and be yes men. As long as you spending money, it's yes, yes, yes. But as soon as you start spending money, it's no, no, no. And you can tell who they are by the conversation that they give you. You know, it's a bunch of empty conversation. No depth to it at all. So when you train a child in these things and then give them examples of it in life, take them around people so they can see it in action, you know what I'm saying, and validate it in their mind, they're not going to sit up and do the opposite. You know what I'm saying? Even if they do say, okay, well, Dad, you know, I want to see what this world is like on my own. I mean, I know you didn't taught me all these things, but I still want to see. And they go out there, okay, they're not going to be stupid while they're out there, like the prodigal son was. See, that was stupidity because the boy was unlearned. Had he have been properly trained, as the Bible says, Proverbs 22:6, train a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he'll know his way back. No, that's not what it says. He will not depart. He will not depart. The prodigal son departed. So, understand something before you go saying this, that, or the third. Because I tell you what, you're going to get your feelings hurt on the day of judgment when the Father says, depart from me, you worker of iniquity. Because Matthew 7:23 and 24 says, everyone that cries, Lord, Lord, shall not enter in. So just because you're going to church and just because you're doing this, Miss Evangelist, Sister, Brother, Mother, Deacon, Bishop, Doug,
because their brain, I mean, they're not fully formed.
That don't mean nothing. That's all stuff of man. That's man stuff. They took the things of the Father and blew them way out of proportion. Like the Sabbath. How you gonna sit up and buck the fourth commandment? Everybody know the 10 Commandments is still in full effect. They have never changed. So how you gonna buck the fourth commandment? Huh? That's what you do every Sunday when you go to church. You just say, forget you, Jesus. Forget you. We don't care what you said in your word. We're going to do what we want to do. That's exactly what you're doing, you disobedient thing, you. You better search the scrolls, for in them you think you have life, but actually it proves your death. Let me stop being so boisterous, because I know somebody getting mad. But hey, don't get mad. Get it right. All right? Just get it right. Because I tell you what, you remember that other story in Luke about the rich man? Yeah. Not the prodigal son, but the rich man. Yeah. Well, it's going to be a lot of poor men waking up in hell too. Called themselves Christians. Thought they were, but was following the wrong way. For if they preach any other Jesus, let him be accursed.
Get a 2-pack of
Huh?
premiums for $69.
What?
That's only $34.99.
You ain't got nothing to say now, huh? DM me. Please DM me. I really want to have a conversation with you so you can be turned around, because I tell you what, you're going the wrong way. You know, just like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, when they picked the girl up that they almost ran over, and then she started bugging out. You're going the wrong way.
And I'm telling you from personal experience.
And then she pulled a gun from you know where,
I mean, I think Gene and I
and blew her brains out.
You go at it for a minute, then I'll pick it up from there. It just feels so good. I mean, you are just espousing this incredible wisdom.
That's exactly what you might as well do.
I was 17. I know where you're headed.
If you're going to continue going in the direction that you're going, just go ahead and blow your brains out. Get it over with. You know what I'm saying? Well, you know what? Honestly, I take that back. Don't blow your brains out, because this little 10 or 15 or 20 years, however long you have left to live, is going to be the most fun of your eternity. So live it up. Enjoy. What did he say? Eat, drink, and be merry? Because when you meet the Lord, you're going to die. The second death. Lake of fire. That's right. Because you're going the wrong way. The 10 Commandments are in full effect. Full effect. Okay? So be wise. Study to show yourself approved unto the Most High. A workman needs not be ashamed, rightly divide the word of truth. You know, you got to be able to listen to people like this and know when what they're saying goes against the word of the Father.
Let's move to your child's need for competence, to learn competence. In that, it was an interesting story you shared in the book where you had, I think, a teenager who had parents who were alcoholics, and that taught him a competency. What were you getting at with that?
Well, that story was a case where he was at when I was seeing him, probably in his early 20s at that point, and he had 2 parents that were alcoholics. Both of them rejected him. And he was in terrible shape. Somehow they dumped him at my office, and they wanted him to get some help. It may, in fact, have been a grandparent. And I was talking with him. His self-esteem was so low. But what happened? And he thought of harming himself at that point, because neither parent was happening. There was a teacher in his life, a Christian teacher, that recognized his ability to sing and to have a musical ability that literally saved his life. That competence gave him an identity. It gave him something to kind of cope with his parents' rejection, and it changed his whole life. Wow. He was locally known for being a singer, a Christian singer, and had a band. It was awesome, only because somebody had recognized the competence in him. He wouldn't have made it otherwise.
That's a beautiful story of mentoring and being on the lookout for young people who need help. Yeah, that's great.
And even I think teachers will find this parenting to be very helpful, because teachers have a major role to play. They absolutely do.
That was true in my life. And with that competence, you're also looking to develop their faith as a competency. I think you mentioned that. Yeah. You talk a lot about, and I think it's great, how your dad modeled faith for you. How did he do that practically?
Boy, Dad, every morning of my life, Dad would have his quiet time. He knew when I got up every morning, Monday through Friday, to go to school, and he wanted to make sure I saw him in the hallway, actually in the doorway of the family room, in his rocking chair, had his Bible, had his devotional, and so I would see him every single morning doing that. Mm-hmm. Even on the weekends, depending on when I got up, he would be in the same spot. As an adult, I said, Dad, it was the craziest thing. I would always see you having your quiet time in the morning. What a coincidence. He said, Dave, that was no coincidence. I knew when you got up, and I wanted you to see me doing it. Whoa. Dad didn't stop there. He taught me to have my own quiet time. You don't just freelance with that. Well, read the Bible, it's important. He sat down with me for a week, and we had quiet time together. And he taught me how he did it. How to read the Bible, how to pray.
Well, that's good.
How to even worship God. It was like awesome. It was like a window into what my dad was doing, and so that helped me develop it.
And that's every Christian parent's goal, is to launch our kids with a faith that will endure the things that they're going to encounter.
It's the most important thing.
When you look now beyond faith, the practical everyday stuff, what are some good ways to launch your child in that respect when it comes to competency, things you can teach them?
Well, in the area of competence, you start with whatever they enjoy doing, you push them into those activities. My mother, I always kind of liked baseball, and so I wanted to be in Little League, and my mother dropped me off the first day of Little League, and I had some second thoughts. Mom, I don't think I want to do it. She said, get out of the car. She kicks me out of the car, and she drives off in the station wagon. Harsh woman, harsh. But 2 minutes later, I was having the time of my life. So you let whatever they enjoy, you push them into competence. And that actually bleeds into independence, because this is my thing. This is who I am. This is what I do. And if it's the right scenario, they're starting to become independent. That's why youth group and youth activities and missions trips connected to your church are so important. It's tough letting them go to Africa. Nancy went to Africa one day, but that changed her life. Yeah. The chance to share Christ, and it was so open. So all those things lead to not just spirituality and competence, but independence.
Yeah, that's a great example of a crisis of faith for the parent. Having your child go on a big trip.
I didn't want her to go. Sandy and I disagreed on that. I said, I don't want to send her to Africa. What are you, crazy? She can go to Louisiana or Georgia or here right in town. There's needs here. She said, Dave, I think it's important. We had to go through the thing. She wants to go, and it's a big deal, and her friends are going.
So that's the difference between boys and girls. Jean and I are the opposite. I'm like, let them go. And she's like, you know what could happen to them? That is so funny.
Yeah.
Hey, share with us the general strategy you have for the war of discipline. Discipline's the next one. We covered love and competency, discipline.
I have a behavior-based system because that's what God has. This is absolutely Bible-based. There are standards of behavior reasonable standards of behavior you have for your children. And how they're to act and how they're to behave. Here's how we expect you to behave.
And you've outlined that in the book.
Oh yeah, it's very clear. And I recommend even putting it down on paper. And some of it's tied to the kids' personalities, but most of it, here are the rules of the home, all of which are biblical, inspired by the Bible. It's really, I'm standing in for God and raising you. Here's what He'd want you to do. I'm convinced of it. And I can show you in the Bible. Then based on that, you also have reasonable rewards and consequences. If you choose to, and you can choose to do whatever you want from an early age, kids choose. You got nothing to do with it. If you choose to obey, then there are always rewards. And you've chosen to be rewarded, in other words. If you choose to not obey, and that's going to happen too, then you have chosen a consequence, and here's what it is. This is exactly the way God works with us, free will. It's not going to force me to do anything. But based on my choices, there are always rewards and consequences. So that's how we raised our kids, and it worked. And they made a lot of bad choices, and when they have the consequence with very little emotion, you've in effect chosen this consequence. No, I didn't. I can't believe. Here it's written down. Isn't that your signature? Whatever. And so and it was reasonable, and they learned that that's not really the way I want to live.
Now, consequences are typically age-related, right? You're going to be a little different, or a lot different, between a 5, 6, 8-year-old from a 13, 14, 15-year-old. Kind of give us an idea of those consequences that the parents listening can find in the book. What are the differences of consequences?
I cover the whole age range. When you've got small kids spanking, God is still a believer in spanking. You're not going to remember
That's
those
pretty controversial.
I'm telling these days, but if you do it the right way, it actually builds independence and respect for authority, and it changes them.
And what's that right way?
It is always a private situation. It's not a public spectacle. You're not going to hand out popcorn and candy. I'm going to spank Susie, and I want you to be here. We're not going to humiliate. It's mom or dad, and it's in their room. Here's what's happening. And now you're angry when you spank. You're not losing it. If you're out of control and sometimes you really get upset, you would wait until you calm down. But never spank a child in anger is ridiculous. Of course I'm mad. That's why I'm spanking you. So it's reasonable. But there's 2 or 3 swats. It's private. You clearly know why this is happening. And this is for a smaller child because this is what communicates with them. Paddle or hand to bottom, it keeps him from touching the hot stove, going in the road. When William was 3 years old, he'd be dead now. We had a busy road in front of our home. We're always playing in the yard. I had to spank him a number of times to keep him from going in the road. He'd be dead. You can't reason with a 2 or 3-year-old. 4, no. That's what the spanking's for. Now, after the spanking, you leave them alone to cry and be upset, and you come back, you want an apology. That's the whole point of the process. Apology to God, apology to you, maybe some other kid that they are a sibling or somebody in the neighborhood that they violated. And then there's a reconnection of affection, and gosh, we move right on. So many, even Christian parents are dropping that. And you know what? I think I can reason with my 3-year-old. Good luck. That's not what it's for. Now, in our case, by 4.5, 5 years old, we weren't spanking anymore. We'd gotten the job done, authority. They respected it, and they learned, and now we can use other techniques like timeout, stickers, taking away special video. And so the older they get, the more things you can take. Once they're teenagers, it's a gold mine of opportunity.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've never heard it quite like that, and to have it over with so quickly is really good, especially when it's going to cause them physical harm.
Well, right, and there's pain. There's pain involved. But that's only for the purpose of, again, communicating.
Well, I mean, you're preventing them from physical harm. By making sure that they understand this is not the place to go or the way.
It's very protective. Yeah. Now, once they get older, got a whole section on teenagers in the book. We went through 4 of them, so we know what we're talking about. You can take things from them that will really get their attention.
Yeah, hit that. Let us hear those as well, because I think parents of teenagers struggle a lot about what is fair game in terms of consequences.
I'm telling you anything except food, water, shelter, and clothing.
That means electronics.
Everything. Their whole stinking life is their electronics. We know that. Their phone, the whole world. No, you've lost that for a day. My social life is over. I'll have no friends. You know what? I'm surprised you have friends now. You're so mean. But you take the phone. Okay, but they've made the choice.
Right.
I used to tell my kids, you never have to lose anything. All the things you can earn every day. But if you make that choice, then you've chosen to lose that. So the phone, the electronics, the TV, unless the phone's used for homework, it's gone. Once they start driving, you will take the car from them. And the best thing in the world for us, we would drive our kids to school. We'd have Christian hymns playing as we drove up with the windows down. Oh, it's the worst thing for a teenager. No, goodbye, Susie. Mommy loves you. The worst thing in the world. Food, special snacks. And you feed them the vegetables and the basic meals, but snacks of all kinds can be used.
How about social things too? Like shut off the social engagement opportunity.
Exactly. All the social media gone. You're going dark. No, my life. Your choice. Only a day. A day means a lot to them. And even though we're limiting screen time, and that's covered in the book too, technology is a big deal. Any kind of time within that, if they have an extracurricular activity, a sport, an activity, a martial art, dancing, music lessons, on the table.
Yeah.
You will take it from them.
Well, we've hit the love and the competence and spirituality. We've worked that in as well. The independence, speak to independence. You're kind of touching on that right now. So how do you get that teen into that independent zone where they're making good decisions and living life in a very independent way?
You start really early on. Even a small child can make their own decisions within reason. With the girls, it was always a clothing thing. So Sandy would say, well, you can wear this outfit or this outfit. Because when it's 40 choices, I can't decide. Well, yeah, you need it from your mother. I didn't have that. But it's either this outfit or this outfit they choose. We would go out to eat. And within reason, if they finished the meal, they could choose what they wanted to eat. That's fair. If you choose something you don't eat it, you're going to sit there and the rest of us are going to eat. All right? I'm sorry. You won't starve to death. Breakfast is coming. But anyway, when we could farm all 4 of our kids out, hey, there's a new couple down the street. They're a biker couple. We don't know them, but you're going to be over there. So I'm kidding. Grandparents are wonderful. So when you're gone on the day, it also gives them a chance to be independent with someone else that you trust. Christian camps are a wonderful idea. I think mission trips I mentioned before, youth group activities, part-time job as long as it's earned. Even dating is good for independence as long as it's reasonable and they've earned it. All those things just push them away from you.
Boy, good stuff. I mean, really, that is good stuff. And your book is packed with information. It's probably about one of the most comprehensive parenting books I've read. So thank you for doing that, David. Love the discussion today and last time. Let me speak to you, the listener. Mom and Dad, I want to remind you, Focus on the Family is here to support and encourage you in every way we can. And it starts with you making contact with us. You can call us or find us online, and John will give those details in a moment. One thing we have at the website, which I encourage you to take, is our 7 Traits of Effective Parenting Assessment. It'll show you where you're doing well and where you might need to strengthen your parenting efforts. It only takes about 5 or 6 minutes to complete. It's totally confidential, but it's a great little indicator for you.
It really is. And then, of course, we do have David's terrific book, Parenting is Hard, and Then You Die. And the title is so very funny. The content is so good.
Oh, it is, John, and we're just a phone call away. We want to put that resource into your hands, so get a hold of us. And if you can support the ministry with a monthly pledge or maybe a one-time gift, now's the time to do it. Let's help people together. Thousands of people reach out to Focus on the Family every day for help, and many are in full-blown crisis. Millions more tune into the broadcast for that practical biblical wisdom. And I'm really happy to say God is already working through friends like you to bring healing and hope to couples on the verge of divorce, mothers considering abortion, families in crisis, parents who are struggling, children waiting in foster care for a forever home, and so much more.
And Jim, of all those who benefit from Focus on the Family resources, just a small fraction, a small percentage, support this ministry.
It's true. It's about 1%. Can you imagine how many more people God could help through your support today? These families need you. I hope you can hear that. So let's do it together. Let's do ministry together, and we'll send you Dr. Clark's book as our way of saying thank you for joining the team.
Donate and request your copy of Parenting is Hard, and Then You Die when you call us at 800, the letter A in the word family, or stop by focusonthefamily.com/broadcast. On behalf of Jim Daly and the entire team, thanks for joining us today for Focus on the Family. I'm John Fuller, inviting you back as we once again help you and your family thrive in Christ. The Lighthouse, 100.1 FM, pointing the way in Hampton Roads.
Hi, this is Rick Brennan at Remnant Radio. Listen on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. for the best and healthy living with Brenda Moran. It's in God's plan for you to have healthy minds and bodies. So tune in Wednesdays at 4 p.m.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-648-9175. 800-648-9175. That's 800-648-9175.
Pointing the way in Hampton Roads. W261DI 100.1 FM Norfolk. AM 1010 WPMH Portsmouth. The Lighthouse.
Breakpoint this week, a weekly briefing on faith, culture, worldview, and mission with John Stonestreet, president of the Colson Center for Christian Worldview.
Welcome to Breakpoint this week. John Stonestreet here, joined by Warren Smith today. And Warren, I just want to start out the program by acknowledging and just the horrific events at the Gilroy Garlic Festival, a shooting that took the lives of 3 people, and then in addition to that, the shooter was killed as well. It's like a common occurrence, and the questions of why now are becoming quicker and quicker and quicker, and people, before the shooting, before we even knew the details of this shooting. I mean, I'm sure this is always the case, but I went on Twitter because a lot of times that gives you the latest breaking news. And what it got me was the latest breaking misinformation about how many people were shot, how many people were killed, that they knew who it was, that it was obviously a Donald Trump supporter, that it obviously was someone who was a communist, that it was obviously someone who was this or that or the other. And all of that turned out to be wrong. And, I guess part of my question, Warren, is that with that kind of quick gut level response that social media allows, even just 2 to 3 years ago when an event like this would take place, people were a little bit more calm, at least in the first few minutes. They were a little bit more reserved. They wanted to get the information before they just started putting out opinions. It's almost like there's a jadedness, not only just to the shooting, which I think that's something we've got to talk about as well, but that social media, people don't even care about putting out bad information anymore.
Well, I think that's right. And, social media has also created a lot of bad behavior on the part of the media as well. Media are rewarded by being first. So they will put stuff up on their website or pop stuff out on social media without knowing all of the facts or even whether the facts that they think are true are actually true. It creates a couple of problems. One is that there's just a whole lot of falsehood out there. And for those of us who are Christians who care about the truth, that's an issue in and of itself. But secondly, it also creates a false impression that things are a whole lot worse than they are. When something happens, it's immediately all over social media. And a lot of these are stories that would never have been reported 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. In fact, I'm reading a book called The Death of Politics by our friend at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. His name is Peter Weiner, John, and he talked about a series of bombings in the late 60s and early 70s. There was a period of time where there were 5 bombings a day in the United States from radical groups like the Weather Underground and so on. And yet they weren't reported every day because the media, we were just operating in a very, very different media environment. Now, I'm not arguing against transparency. I'm not arguing against an informed populace. But, whenever we can just pop out on social media with anything, true or false, in a matter of seconds, it's going to necessarily create a lot of disinformation. And I think we also start to think that these stories that would have probably just passed below the radar screen as recently as a few years ago are much more significant than they are. Now, I'm not trying to say that a shooting is not significant. It is significant. And these 3 people who were killed, that is a horrible tragedy. But you're right, social media is contributing to a tremendous sort of era of disinformation these days.
Well, the pressure that it puts on people is really astonishing. I just saw this kind of in live action in recent weeks. So when you said it makes a story seem bigger than it is, it does, because when you see a headline, there's a level of authority that goes along with that, but it also feels like everyone is talking about it. And I learned a lesson specifically about Twitter in recent weeks, and it comes from kind of two scenarios and a stat. And I'm gonna give you the stat that, and I don't have it exact, but it's basically the vast majority of Americans are not on Twitter. And the vast minority of people on Twitter do the vast majority of Twitter posting, right? So in other words, it can really make it seem like the story blows up. You go to Facebook and it's a little bit different, where you can see it and it's on your timeline and you think everyone is paying attention to this. So basically, here's the scenario. So, one has to do with a kind of a social media backlash that I fell into several months ago. And I got some just really wise advice from our friend Ed Stetzer. Ed said, look, this is going to be awful for 72 hours, and then no one will think about it again. And he was exactly right. Now, for 72 hours, I got tens of thousands of mentions, and they were all negative, and it was really brutal in a sense. And people would reach out and say, hey, this is really hard. I'm like, look, compared to what our brothers and sisters in Nigeria are facing, a Twitter hate is not, all that big of a deal. It's right. I don't think it rises to the level of persecution, but I appreciated them kind of reaching out. And but it did seem overwhelming, like this will never end. But it was like clockwork. He was right. 72 hours, and it was off the table. And then the number of people since then who are in those circles that should have seen if Twitter really was the news source we all think it is, guess what? They had never heard of it. And I was on a call with another individual who has a kind of a public profile, and she was talking about like the push she got. And I said, you just need to know this. I didn't even know that this was happening. And I'm sorry, I would have reached out to you earlier kind of thing. But I was trying to also encourage her, like, it seems like everyone is against you, and it really is not the case. Well, that happened to a friend on Facebook this week. A story popped up on her Facebook feed, and it was about a family member of hers, and she was really going to kind of go out there, and it really dealt with some controversial stuff. And I really encouraged her, look, it seems like everyone's talking about it. But I looked at the story, and it had, 20 reactions, 18 likes and 3 comments or something like that. And I'm like, look, that means almost everyone you'll meet will not have any idea what this is about. Now, again, when we're talking about a shooting, this is a whole nother level of news and importance and significance. This is a sort of story that is defined in many ways, at least a part of the American experience over the last several years, even the last 20 years since Columbine. And it's something that reflects a lot. But you just kind of, I don't know how much more evidence we need to get to the conclusion that social media has made the world worse, and it makes us worse in a whole lot of ways. And it's one of those tools. It's a really dangerous thing to put into the hands of idiots, and it's a really dangerous thing to put into the hands of me because I'm an idiot. And you go back to the biblical morality. Don't bear false witness. Judge not. That you can just kind of go down the line. Don't answer evil